This is the fourth video in a 5-part series on my new woodworking bench with a table saw and a router table. Today I'll be showing you how to make this blast gate box. The box has a 100mm dust hose and two secondary 63mm hoses connected to a blast gate, with a dust extraction cuff to connect to the table saw and another that goes straight to the router table cabinet. I wanted to be able to disconnect the 100mm dust hose quickly so I could use it with other tools with a socket of the same diameter, which is why I've used flange adapters. I'm going to run a few tests to see how well it works. First, I'll open the blast gate for the table saw and start cutting. You can see the box works really well. Now I'll run another test with a router table. For that, I'll disconnect the dust extraction cuff for the table saw and plug it in the flange adapter of the router table's fence. Now I open the two gates and do some milling to try it out. Logically, these blast gates can be used individually when using the router. For some milling jobs, I'll only need to connect one of the tubes. As you can see here, after milling, there's some dust left over on the inside of the cabinet. This is normal. In this other test, you can see that the 63mm hose has a good extraction flow rate, even when both blast gates are open. The box is designed so that it can easily be disconnected from the workbench, allowing you to put it against the wall when not in use, taking up as little space as possible. It's also designed that way so you can use the blast gate box in other work centers or tools. Now let me show you how to make this box. First, cut a strip of soft plywood of the proper width. On the router table, make a slot in each of its edges, one in the back and another with the same thickness as the acrylic I'll use later. In this 3D file, you can see the joints between the parts are angled. I'll start by cutting the two smallest pieces in the table saw with a miter gauge at 45 degrees. I'll cut one piece per end of the plywood strip. Now I'll make the other in these two pieces, which is at 16 degrees. Since the disc is already at 16 degrees, I'll cut the first angles of the two parts that come next. And just like before, I'll cut the second angle of these parts. Again, since the disc is already at the right angle, I'll cut the lower part of the box to size. Finally, I have to cut the top of the box to size and at a 45-degree angle. I'm going to mark and drill the hole for the 100mm flange adapter. And now, after working out its position, I'll drill 2 holes for the 63mm blast gates with a hole saw. It's time to glue all the parts of the box together. I'll use a ruler and masking tape. I apply wood glue and stick some more tape to apply pressure. I mark and cut the back of the box using light 9mm plywood. I'm also going to use wood glue, but screws could be used instead. It's time to sand and varnish the blast gate. I'll use a nitro lacquer spray. In the same way, I'll cut the acrylic to size. I drill and countersink the necessary holes with a column drill and make sure everything is correct. Now I'll screw the blast gate to the box. I've seen blast gates with holes for this purpose, but this time I haven't been able to find them, so I'll drill some custom holes with a column drill. Now would be a good time to screw in the 100mm adapter. Now I'll work out the exact place where I want the box to be in the workbench. I'll cut and machine some pieces of plywood that will let me attach and detach the box from the bench. I'll use some hex furniture bolts. I drill the necessary holes in the workbench frame and make sure everything works as expected. All that's left now is to install the dust hoses. I'll use hose clamps where needed, and the dust extraction cuff for the saw outlet. That's all for today. In a few days I'll post a new video showing you how to make folding tables for the workbench.